The Soul religion's coverage is too wide, so it is extremely open. Every civilization and every big world is equivalent to a vassal of one side. The only big world where the teaching headquarters is located is called the only big world. Its scale is larger than that of the immortal continent. When Yaming appeared on the only continent, he found that the aura was very advanced and abundant. He had never been here before, and at first did not know how to find a brother, so he randomly found a small city and inquired slowly. The city where he settled down was named Fenghua City, which was about the same size as the middle of the Tian continent. On the only continent, it can only be regarded as a small town, and its status is similar to that of the ordinary small county town on the Tianyuan continent. When he arrived at Fenghua City, he first lived in the inn, then walked around to get in touch with the local customs. A few days passed and he got a lot of useful news. Throughout the only continent, almost everyone is a believer in the only great God. Every day for 3 periods, everyone will kneel on the ground and worship the only great God. Whenever this time, Yaming looked very different. He knelt down in black, but only he was still standing. At this time, he could feel many hostile eyes projecting. He felt very innocent, so whenever he worshipped, he would hide into the room to avoid being hostile. While worshipping, he could feel the power of tyrannical beliefs, continually converging to one place. There was an eternal breath in that place. To be sure, the only great God, like the only emperor, is an eternal powerhouse. Yaming felt that the situation was almost the same, so he took out a charm and urged it. This symbol can contact that brother. He feels that if he goes to find it, the scope is too large and it is easy to be suspected. Let the brothers come to find themselves, but rather a more secure approach. As soon as Fuguang flashed, it burned, condensed into a ray of light, suspended in the air. Yaming said, "Master, I am in Fenghua City, Dongxiang in Tianzi room number 9. You asked the villain to find the Taiji Fujin, the villain has found it." After speaking, the aura disappeared, carrying Yaming's voice, like a radio wave, passed out. That aura, like electricity, went away instantly. However, when a large hand was lightly fished in the void, the aura fell into his hand. At the same time, Yaming's voice came out, "Master, I'm in Fenghua City, Dongzi in Tianzi room number 9. You asked the villain to find Tai Chi Run Jin, the villain has found it." With a big handshake, the aura continued to fly, entered the only teaching, and appeared on a rune around a young man's waist. Fuguang flashed, Yaming's voice sounded. The young man was handsome and elegant, with an exquisite temperament and a slender figure. Wearing a sapphire gown with a jade hanging from the waist and a jade sword in her head, she was shaking a folding fan and gathering with 2 or 3 friends. Hearing Yaming's voice, he laughed, "What I want, Xiao Qi actually found it." Friends are the only great people in teaching, and asked one after another, "What kind of treasure is your brother looking for?" Youth said, "Tai Chi is a golden symbol." Several people exclaimed, "Is Tai Chi run into gold? That's a good thing, I do not know how much. If it is possible, I hope that my brother can share some of us with a good price." The young man waved his hand, "Okay, wait until I get Fujin, then I'll take a step. After that, turn around and leave." The youth's cultivation is extremely high, and he is a strong man in the 6 realms of longevity. He soon rushed to Fenghua City and found the inn. Yaming actually didn't wait long before hearing footsteps. The footsteps were very light, but very fierce. He stood up. Tuk tuk, tuk tuk, tuk, tuk tuk, tuk tuk. The knock on the door was also rhythmic. Yaming opened the door and saw a young man. The temperament of a youth is very easy to get close to, and he has a good opinion at first sight. He quickly bowed to the ground and said, "Master, things are found." With that said, he gave a piece of Tai Chi Fujin to the youth. The young man laughed, "Your boy really has a trick. Where did he find it?" Yaming knew that in the only place where he could teach, he couldn't hide every move, so he was acting. He laughed, "On the mainland of Xiandao, I found someone." The man was so stupid that he didn't know it was Fujin. It's ordinary immortal gold, so the villain bought it for a very low price. The young man laughed, yes, yes, I will definitely reward you this time. After finishing speaking, the young man waved, let's go. The next moment, Yaming felt that the sky was turning, and he entered a strange world within a moment. Surrounded by birds and flowers, there is a crystal hall standing in the distance. The young man was not far away and looked at him with a smile and asked, are you my master named Yaming? Yaming hurriedly met, I've seen my younger brother, it's my younger brother. The young man lifted Yaming with both hands and patted him on the shoulder, and said, I want to see you early for my brother, but master would not let it go. Brother, why did you come here suddenly? Did master give me any order? Yaming sighed, brother, Dian Zun, his old man was harmed and has fallen. The young man was shocked, tears shed in the eyes of the tiger, and he hated, Shenting still shot. Yaming, brother. Before I left, master wanted to let the younger take over the position of the Supreme Court. However, the younger brother was not familiar with learning and could not devote energy to it, so I beg you to let him inherit this position. The young man stunned and said quickly, Master, as Master's last behest, I shall obey it. You and my brother are in one, and I will assist you with all my strength. Yaming nodded secretly. This brother was indeed a generous person, and there was nothing unpleasant. He quickly said, brother, my brother is not a deliberate evasion, he is really incompetent. Moreover, the old master agreed with him, let me assist you, brother. The young man sighed, master wants you to do it, then it shows that the qualifications of the master and brother are already above me, why do you quit? Yaming smiled bitterly, I'm afraid I can't do things well. The young man laughed, here is my kingdom of God. It's safe to speak. Let's talk, our brothers meet for the first time. Then, he invited Yaming to a big hall, and a beautiful girl sent her serve tea and fruit. The two sat down and Yaming said, my brother is actually the only god's son. He is really lucky. The young man shook his head, this is both luck and shackles. By the way, where did you get this rune gold? This is a good thing. It is such a small piece, and it is worth 3 billion eternal coins. Yaming laughed, I happen to have a few pieces, and this piece is given to the brother, which is a little bit of a little brother's heart. The young man haha smiled, Master, you are so generous, but I need it, thank you. After speaking, he took a piece of jade plate out of his arms, with numerous runes inscribed on it, saying, Master, there is nothing good for you when you first meet. There is nothing else to mention, but the origin of this jade plate extraordinary. When the Protoss was established at the beginning of the year, each of the 3,000 chaotic ancient amulets obtained from the chaos contained supreme wonders. On this jade board, 300 chaotic ancient amulets are recorded. Enlighten yourself. Even if you do NT, there is no loss. Yaming quickly said, brother, this is too precious. The young man waved his hand, you and my brother, you are closer than your brother, don't say anything outside. Yaming found that this brother really was a temperament person. No wonder the Dian Zun praised him so much that he would respect him very much when he saw him. Yaming remembered the practice experience of the ancestors from the jade bamboo slips and the inheritance of the ancestors from the immortal space. He said, do you remember the jade bamboo slips? Youth said, of course I remember that I was blunt for my brother. After many years of enlightenment, I gained nothing, and then I gave up. Yaming laughed, my brother is very lucky, and he has won the mystery, and now I tell my brother. The youth was overjoyed, is it? I don't know what's inside. Yaming, the practice experience of the ancestors is extremely precious, and it will definitely be of great benefit to the practice of my brother. The young man said with excitement, it is actually the practice experience of the ancestors. Well, my brother needs it so much now. Yaming, besides that, in the Temple of Immortality, I have been inherited by ancestors. I do not know if my brother has it. The young man's eyes widened, Master, are you the reincarnation of the ancestors? Why are they so favored by the ancestors? I have also gone in that immortal time and space, only to get the heritage of the fur. No wonder the master will pass on you, your luck is so strong. Seeing his yelling, Yaming was a little embarrassed and scratched his head. Where, my brother passed the prize. Okay, you don't have to pretend to me. The youth laughed and pleased him. It's just that you are too easy to believe in others. You and I will meet, so I will give these families a hand. Yaming Zhengzheng said, as my brother said, you and my brother are better than a milk compatriot. The stronger your brother is, the easier it will be for my brother. And vice versa. The young man laughed and patted Yaming's shoulder. Good brother. At the moment, Yaming will share the ancestral traditions released and the ancestral experience gained in Yujian. However, both are only one because he can only understand so much at the moment. Even so, the help to the brothers was huge. During the exchange, Yaming learned that his brother's name was Sun Zhongxian and he was the only son of the grandson Sun Daizai. Above him, there is an older brother named Sun Boyan. Brother Ming, if you are idle, you will be the only one to teach for a while. Externally, I will say that you are my new follower, called Yes Yaoer. Sun Zhongxian said. Yamingqi said, why is Yes Yaoer? It sounds like a errand. Sun Zhongxian laughed. Haha, you don't just run for me. Don't complain, my brother will take you to a fun place tomorrow. If you don't bring it personally, you won't know the prosperity of the only continent. Yaming grinned, okay, I'll stay for a few days, so I won't let Xian brother give you some blood, wouldn't I have come here for nothing? After that, the brothers laughed. Yaming actually had other plans here, so he explained his refining of the medicine and Qian Zhuang, saying, Xian brother, you have a very strong position in the only teaching. Can the business of Qian Zhuang and the medicine? As soon as Sun Zhongxian heard it, he patted his thigh and shouted, okay. Except for my dad, I basically said nothing. The only bad thing is that my elder brother often stumps me. But it doesn't matter, that guy's mind simple, well-developed limbs, there is not much bad water to make it bad. Yaming listened and said, how can anyone say that to my elder brother? Sun Zhongxian began to sigh, you don't know. My elder brother is so stupid that he has no friends, so many treasures of heaven and earth are piled up, and now it is just the heaven and the heaven. He just has great ambitions, and wants to fight with me to continue teaching man, haha. I'm pitiful and angry at him. As soon as Yaming heard it, he knew that the other party was a second pole, so he didn't mention it. Said, Xian brother, elixir, I will provide elixir and sell it. I earn 50% of the money you make. Sun Zhongxian waved his hand, elixir is cost, so you are too bad. I will make it 40%, you 60%. Yaming laughed, you and my brother don't have to see each other, not 55. As for the money bank, we are still 55. But everything here should be taken care of by Xian brother. In terms of investment, I and Xian brother are half. Sun Zhongxian said, yes. If you invest, your brother and I are very poor. Most of all, I can take out 50 trillion yuan. Yaming, anyway, let's take it slowly. We can buy and sell as much capital as we can. I also have 50 trillion yuan. This trillion yuan is enough to fully develop on the only continent. There is only one teaching to do credit. Guarantee, I believe business will be hot. Next, Yaming taught the experience of opening a bank and how to make a profit. He heard Sun Zongxuan's heart tickle and said, Ming brother, I wish I had known you already, and I would have become rich now. Yaming smiled, I don't get involved in Qin Zhuang's affairs. I only collect money, so I have to trouble brother Xian. Sun Zhongxian, this is easy, I have the right to mobilize the only teaching force. If my dad knows that I can make money so much, I'm afraid he will laugh away. Just talking about the business of Qian Zhuang and Dan Yao, the two talked for 2 days. On the third day, Sun Zhongxian formally took Yaming to see the prosperity here. In the only religion, in addition to the only great and the grandson Sun Daizai, Sun Zhongxian is counted and said to be one. The place where he took Yaming was of course the same. The first place they went to was called Happy Valley. Although the name Happy Valley is vulgar, it is really a good place. It is a large valley. There are many buildings built in the valley. There are Lingru hot springs, casino, Gulanyuan, food, and so on. The consumption here is very high. A person has to play and eat well. It can't be done without thousands of eternal coins. Some people even spend millions of eternal coins a day. At this moment, Yeming and Sun Zhongxian were soaking in the milky hot spring. Hot springs are so precious that only a few guests can afford them. Soak for a quarter of an hour and charge up to 1 million eternal coins. Sun Zhongxian told Yeming that this hot spring can strengthen bones, enhance vitality, and even enhance wisdom. It is called Sanbao Shanai, which is not trivial. Soaking in the hot spring, there was a woman in a palace costume in a short while, coming up with great respect. In front of the two big men in Chiguakuo, she looked natural and asked, "How many girls will the young master order this time?" Sun Zhongxian asked, "Isn't there a new batch? Go and pick some amazing ones." The woman in the palace costume retreated, and within a moment, she brought 10 beautiful girls. What surprised Yeming was that the beautiful girl in national color has a pair of long legs, and the pair on the chest is even more powerful. They were blushing, apparently starting out in this way, a little jerky. Sun Zhongxian looked at Yeming and asked, "Second, what do you think?" Yeming was very dissatisfied with Sun Zongxuan's own title. In the homeland, 2 means that a person is stupid and acts, but his resistance has not been effective, so he rolled his eyes and said, it's good, unfortunately. Each type is too single." Sun Zhongxian grinned, "Second, you really are a veteran, knowing that people and wives have a taste." After that, he hit his fingers. The woman in the palace costume bowed down. "What does the young master command?" "Call a few peaches, my family likes them," he said grinningly. The woman in the palace costume took a look at Yeming, nodded, and went to lead. However, the 10 beautiful girls did not leave, undressed one after another, and came to the 2 with waves, rubbing, and pinching. There were also a few who buried their heads in the water and blow them. Yeming narrowed his eyes. This kind of stunning beauty. Teasing, but it can strengthen his heart. On the other side, a few more aggressive young women came, and they all looked like ripe peaches, and Yeming felt itchy nose. He stumbled and stretched out his hand, praising, "It's really big, it feels great." Sun Zhongxian laughed, "Enjoy for a while, let's check my luck later." The so-called luck is naturally gambling. Sun Zhongxian lacks everything, just not lack of money. But this state of life worries Hito. Is he really willing to give up such a good life? After an hour, the beautiful young women and the beautiful girls left with blushing faces, numbness in all their legs and feet, and unstable walking. "Second, are you good at Kung Fu?" At first glance it is Fenjai, a veteran. Sun Zhongxian praised him. Yeming, "Fart, I'm very pure, and I'm only good with a few women." Sun Zhongxian pouted, obviously not convinced. The 2 then came to the casino. The casino is not an ordinary casino, and there are not many people, but all of them are rich. For example, in a casino, there are actually 100 million eternal coins, as many as thousands of chips. As soon as Sun Zhongxian appeared, people stopped to see him, saying that he was second. Yeming stopped and watched for a while. Sun Zhongxian secretly said, "There are people at this table. The only teaching below is that there are 4 big chaebols. They are all very rich. They control the economic lifeline, and even my dad cannot easily offend them. Even this casino is the 4 wealthy chavra are opened, and there are hundreds of billions of eternal coins flowing every year." Yeming said in surprise, "That's really rich." He looked for a while and saw that the gameplay was simple. It's a roulette with a lot of sectors, with pointers fixed next to it. The roulette spins randomly, and people bet on each sector. When the roulette stops, it means which one it is on and you get the corresponding odds. The roulette is very large. It is divided into 360 squares, some of which are 10 squares, some are 3 squares, and some are 20 squares. For 10 squares, the odds are 36 times. If you win, you still have to pay 10% of the pump. In the same way, those who account for 3 grids have an odds of 120 times, and also draw 10%. In other words, from a high probability, the casino will always make 10% of the money. 1 trillion yuan a year, the profit is 10 trillion. Sun Zhongxian asked, play. Yeming, if I play, it doesn't matter if I win too much, right? Sun Zhongxian was happy, and said, with my support, you have the ability to win this casino. Yeming grinned, it's time to play. Then, he went to the turntable and snapped his fingers. A waiter appeared and asked, what did you say? Yeming lost a ring with 20 trillion yuan of eternal coins in it and said, trouble is replaced with chips. The man took the ring, his face was all white, okay, 20 trillion yuan of eternal coins, what is the source of this man? But he glanced at the young master next to him, and he was not surprised. The eyes of the people nearby fell on Yeming. Sun Zhongxian raised his eyebrows and smiled, second, you are really arrogant, I will just save some money, and you save me a bit of use. What he meant was to tell others. The person who spends it is also his, so he is participating in gambling on his behalf. At the first sight of Sun Zongxuan's speech, people did not dare to underestimate Yeming and bowed their hands. A young man in a yellow shirt came over with a smile and said, what do you want to play, friend? Yeming grinned and said, my young master said that he would let me play casually. I haven't had a lot of gambling before, just play simple. I think this spinning plate is good. What's its name? The young man in the yellow shirt smiled brightly, this is called a roulette board. It is divided into 360 squares. Several squares make up a sector. Each sector can bet. Cow. Look at this. He said, pointing to a sector that only took up a small box. If you bet on this sector, once you win, you will be able to pay 360 times. The other side said. Yeming smiled hee, although I don't understand, I also understand that the higher the odds, the harder it is to gamble. So, I'll play this 36 slot box. He lost a chip and it was 100 million eternal coins. The smile of the young man in yellow is even brighter, and he said, I bet 1 for 10 in this sector. I hope your good luck. Sun Zhongxian looked at him with a smile, but he knew that the younger brother was quite rich. Besides, it is rare for him to invest only 50 trillion yuan in eternal coins to do business with him. He even felt that Yeming's financial resources were still above him. The others also bet one after another, and the roulette spins faster and faster. Yeming observed with divine thought, and found that the devices of the roulette were all inside and uncontrolled. It rotates every third quarter of an hour, and the rotation time is indeed random. It has a legal array that shields external forces from the outside. It is impossible for any powerful person to act. Therefore, this roulette game is purely luck. Second, this thing wins less and loses more, how do you play this? Sun Zhongxian asked secretly. Yeming said, Master, the probability of betting in this sector is 1/10, and the probability of not betting is 9/10. But if I bet 10 times, I won't bet in every round. The concept is only 3/5, if you play 20 games in a row, the probability of losing is only 13%. When Sun Zhongxian heard him, he understood, what do you mean, every time you lose, you bet 3 times more? Yeming nodded, if this game doesn't win, I will bet 300 million, if I don't win, I bet 900 million until I win. In this way, no matter how much I lost in the previous games, the final game can be 20 times. Win back. His calculations are similar to those when he bet against Wushan Temple. Once he loses in which game, not only will he spit out the previous win, but he will also have to lose twice as much money as the Wu Temple. Of course, at that time, the Wushan Temple did not succeed, but lost to Yeming's 111 trillion yuan of eternal coins, which almost made it bankrupt. Yeming, yes. As long as I have enough money, I will win steadily today. And the more I win, the more I will win. Sun Zhongxian smiled bitterly, it's really hard to say luck. Yeming grinned, I don't believe that the only great has been embarrassing me for a long time. Will he always take care of me? The roulette began to spin, and Yeming missed. After all, there is only 1/10 probability, and it is normal to miss. In the next round, he bet 3 chips, which is 300 million eternal coins. 1/3 of a quarter of an hour was just 1 round, and the roulette round went fast. Unconsciously, 10 rounds passed. Ye Ming missed the first game. By the 12th game, his bet amount had reached 5.99 trillion. There are already many people around the roulette, 3 inside and 3 outside. The stakes have reached several trillion yuan of eternal coins, which is already quite scary. Even the owner of the casino, a black-bearded old man, has appeared and is paying close attention to it. When he appeared, he saluted Sun Zhongxian. Sun Zhongxian felt a little nervous, and he asked the old man with a black smile, "Lao Zhou, my guy is crazy, I hope he doesn't dig out of my house." The old man with a black beard grinned. He was the core figure of a big chaebol, saying, "Where is the young master, what is the skill of this guy, and he will surely win." Saying someone in his mouth, his heart was very cold. "Boss, if this kid wins, we will lose a lot." Someone said. The old man with a black beard sneered, "Don't panic, no matter which round, the probability of his winning is only 1/10. Now it is more than 5 trillion. As long as he insists on a few more rounds, he will not be able to afford the money." Ye Ming really didn't worry. In the ring given by Lao Huang, 3 trillion eternal coins were placed. He will not move these 3 trillion eternal coins, but he can show them to others. If others see that he has 3 trillion eternal coins, they will naturally bet on him with confidence. In the 12th and 13th games, Ye Ming still didn't win. So in the 14th inning, Ye Ming's money has been as high as 159.94 billion yuan. Since there are too many chips and no such big chips, he directly puts a chip containing 106 trillion eternal coins on the sector. At this time, all the people who watched the liveliness mentioned their throats. Is this too cruel? It's all worth 160 trillions, so it's still not alive? In case of a win, this casino must not be closed? The old man with black beard was already covered with white hair and sweat, and he even had a murderous heart. Although he had won nearly 80 trillion eternal coins before, there was not even a trace of happiness in his heart. Because the greater the risk he bears. There are always wins, right? Although it is only 1/10, what if someone wins? Ye Ming was so restless that everyone else was not betting anymore, and he was watching his excitement. 14th of the roulette wheel turned back, 1 lap, 2 laps, 3 laps. At the end, Ye Ming's sector was actually worthy of being stopped at the pointer position. Win! Sun Zhongxian, the young master, jumped in shock, and laughed wildly. 160 trillion. 10 times the odds are 160 trillion, puff. Black blood spewed out on Monday, and the man passed out. As the supreme master of 6 steps, he didn't suppress the fear in his heart, but he fell down. Even with a profit of 176 trillion yuan, deducting 10% of the pumping water, and deducting the 80 trillion yuan previously invested, Ye Ming still made a net profit of 152 trillion eternal coins. Lao Zhou was carried down. Ye Ming suspected that Lao Zhou was a fake coma. After all, he was so high, how could he say he was faint? Next, Ye Ming and Sun Zhongxian were invited to the living room at the back. A moment later, a middle-aged man, walking in and out, came in. The man appeared, and Sun Zhongxian stood up and arched his hands, smiling, "Zhou, Lord, I haven't seen you in a long time." The owner of the Zhou family had a blue face, and anyone who lost 1,520 trillion yuan of eternal coins would vomit blood. "I really want the Zhou family to take out this money, I have to go bankrupt. Moreover, they really can't afford it." The Zhou family master gave a deep gift to Sun Zhongxian, biting his teeth and said, "Young master, 152 trillion yuan, I can't take it out of the Zhou family." Suddenly, Sun Zongxuan's face looked face to face. He stared into the air and exclaimed, "The only great is on top, and Sun Zhongxian, the villain, asks the saint." As soon as this remark came out, the cold sweat of Zhou's homeowner came down. The so-called request plantation means that there is a contradiction between the believers of the only great God, and if the contradiction is large enough, you can ask the only great to come forward and make a fair decision. Slow. Sun Zhongxian lowered his hands and said lightly, since the Zhou family can't afford the money, I can only ask Shenzai, and I also ask the Zhou family owner to forgive me. The Zhou family master gritted his teeth fiercely and said, 150 billion yuan, I really can't take it out. But my Zhou family is willing to give up some of the benefits. That is, Sun Zhongxian is a young master and has a very high status. There is only one master Sun Daizai behind that big backer, so the Zhou family did not dare to play tricks, otherwise it would kill all the people in a family. Sun Zhongxian finally smiled and said, some time ago, I heard you found a large French crystal mine in the chaotic continent. The muscles in the mouth of Mr. Zhou's mouth pumped hard, and his face became ugly. He said coldly, the young master has good news. We have only discovered the crystal ore for half a year, and even the mine has just been dug up. Sun Zhongxian smiled, over the prize, my young master is not in vain. Of course, I must be clear-eyed, otherwise how can I be optimistic about my country? How can I be loyal to the only great God? Then, he arched his hands towards the sky, a pair of respectful look. The Master Zhou was silent for a moment, and said, young master, there is a Dao vein under the Fahing mine. The Fahing we found is just one of the 49 rules derived from the Dao vein. Sun Zhongxian was shocked, staring at the owner of Zhou, saying, Zhou Kaiwan, you are so brave. I found that De Yan's pulse was actually concealed without reporting. Do you know this is a capital crime? Yaming was also shocked and thought it was incredible. The so-called road veins are the road veins that have evolved in the mysterious land, and contain the right-hand congenital road signs inside. Innate road signs can exist in any form, either as a living being, or as a rune, or as a Tao crystal, or as true. Avenue 50, Tianyan 49. So this congenital avenue has derived 49 rules, forming 49 law crystal veins. Each of the Fahing veins contains a lot of Fahing crystals, the value is inestimable. In other words, this great enlightenment is an inestimable wealth, whose value is far more than 150 trillion yuan of eternal coins. Zhou Tianyuan didn't panic at all, saying, the young master is a smart person. If I expose my Zhou family, this thing must be handed over to the Protoss, and none of us can get it. And with the power of my Zhou family, I can't afford it at all. A big piece of fat, even if we eat it, will kill us. So what? Sun Zhongxian asked, staring at him. So my Zhou family only needs 7 of them, in fact, the 42 ways belong to the young master, and they are used for offsetting purposes. Zhou Tianyuan said. Sun Zhongxian stopped talking and said, okay. But you have to wait until I have finished 42 ways to mine. Zhou Tianyuan believed in Sun Zhongxian and said, yes. As for whether you can get the innate road sign in the path, it depends on the ability of the young master. Sun Zhongxian snorted coldly, the amulet of the innate road is not affected by cause and effect, and everything will be wiped out at the touch of a thing. Even if the only great can't be taken out, will I get a finger? Okay, you tell me the address, and I don't need to worry about the rest. Zhou Tianyuan handed a compass to Sun Zhongxian and said, the chaotic continent space is constantly changing, but with this compass, you can accurately find the veins. Sun Zhongxian nodded, then we'll clear it up and say goodbye. Out of the casino, the two did not have the mood to continue playing, returned directly to Sun Zongxuan's residence, and then entered his kingdom of God. Upon returning, Sun Zhongxian laughed and said, fuck. 42 ways, 2, we are rich. Yaming bit his teeth and said, it's all home, why are you calling me too? Sun Zhongxian smiled and said it was smooth. Xian brother, do you estimate how many Fajinks can be debuted in a vein? Yaming began to calculate, he was very worried about losing money on this. In fact, he didn't suffer much. Not counting the French crystal mines that offset the account, he also won 80 trillion yuan, which is a great gain. Sun Zhongxian laughed, you can rest assured. Even the later developed French crystal veins can open more than 10 million French crystals. The price of each of the French crystals issued by Dian Daomei will not be higher. Less than 20 million eternal coins. Yaming's eyes brightened. So to say, the value of a Daomei is less than 2 trillion yuan of eternal coins. Sun Zhongxian nodded. This is still underestimated. Some earlier veins formed, and the mining volume can reach tens of millions. Yaming was instantly excited and felt like he was getting rich. Sun Zhongxian said, "Brother Ming, you can't come forward to mine this matter. Otherwise, once it is known to the Protoss, it will be a death penalty. So this thing will work for you. You will get 60% of the Fahing that you opened, and take the rest. The next 40% can be your brother." Yaming thought for a while. "I think it's 5 minutes. Let me do the mining, and I promise to complete it as quickly as possible." Sun Zhongxian nodded. "Okay, you love to achieve 50% and 50%. However, the Fajing that was issued said that it exists in you and will be of great use to your brother in the future." Yaming, Xian brother, rest assured. It's not too late. Although I'm not afraid of the Zhou family's ghosts, I can't rest assured that there is such a big treasure outside. Okay, you take the compass and hurry up. Then, he gave a sign to Yaming. The charm is very strange and should belong to the Protoss. Sun Zhongxian told him that this sign was the way to enter the chaotic continent. The chaotic continent was the largest piece of debris left when the ancestral continent was shattered, which can account for 1/10 of the ancestral continent. Moreover, this area is near the center and is the most prosperous area. However, because the ancestral center of the ancestral continent is the most destructive, the time and space of the chaotic continent is chaotic. Even the power of the longevity dare not enter and exit casually. It may die at any time, be strangled by the force of space, or endlessly. In the turbulence of time and space, never will come out. Yaming was the first time that he heard about the chaotic continent. He knew that there were endless treasures in it. He couldn't help but think that when he became stronger in the future, he could go into adventure. Taking the road quote and the compass, Yaming immediately set off to return. When he reached the Five Elements continent, he urged the City of War, brought in 100 million heavenly warriors, and all the warships, plus 10,000 first-class immortal guards, 100,000 great sword masters, 4 million sword masters, and rushed there. Chaos Continent. This time to the chaotic continent, he took the sword of time and space. That place is too confusing, and sometimes the sword of the air is more complete. The City of War was brought close to him, and he did not dare to show it, so as not to be found. According to Sun Zongxuan's explanation, the chaotic continent has only one entrance, which is controlled by the Protoss, and there must be a way to get in and out, otherwise it is impossible to enter. The entrance to the chaotic continent lies on an inconspicuous planet in the endless void. Yaming landed on the planet and appeared in a huge square. The square is actually full of creatures of all races, and human races only occupy a small part. Most of them are alien races, Protoss, and even can see traces of monsters and monsters. There are long lines in the square, and people are waiting to enter the chaotic continent. Seeing the team, Yaming couldn't help smiling, long and could not see his head. I don't know how long it would take to enter. But there was nothing he could do but wait. Teammates didn't show much interest in him, and they often turned around to line up their team just by looking at him. Unconsciously, half a day passed. Yaming found out who he was, and there were thousands more. He couldn't help sighing. The environment on this planet is extremely harsh, and occasionally high winds are blowing. Some of them were weak, and they were blown away by the wind. After returning, they had to wait in line again. The hundreds of people in front of Yaming were blown away just now, which actually reduced his waiting time. Just as he ruled out, a big man with a Tauren came behind him. The big man walked all the way while watching. When he got to Yaming, he found that he was a personal person, and his cultivation didn't seem to be high. Yaming was furious. He managed to line up until now. And still a bullhead alien. This Tauren alien, he had encountered before, and half killed. Taurus alien, the real name is Taurus, belonging to the power type alien, ranking middle among the aliens. Who the are you? Yaming scolded, get away. The ox-head stranger was furious, you jerk, you look for death. He raised his hand and blasted to Yaming's face. Yaming was furious and punched out like electricity. The opponent had just swayed his arm, and his fist was already in the chest. Because the bullhead alien is half taller than him, this punch can only hit the chest. Click. The violent force poured in, and the Tauren who had just set foot in the longevity screamed and was blown away for dozens of miles. The eyes around him saw Yaming and fierceness far away, for fear of offending him. Although Yaming repelled the Nyotu alien, he was impatient, thinking that he would have to wait so long until the year of the monkey. Just then, he saw a Terran suddenly leave the team and greet him. It turned out that there was a Protoss guard in front. This Protoss did not know which one it belonged to. The whole body was wrapped in white light. The man nodded and sent a storage ring into the hands of the Protoss guard, saying, "Please take care of God." The Protoss guard stomped the storage ring, and when he saw the money in it, he nodded and said, "Come with me." Yaming quickly chased after him, and then he looked at it from the ground, and put 100 million long-lived coins in the storage ring. He also handed in a ring with 300 million longevity coins in it, 3 times more than the other party. The Protoss guard was a little annoyed, but when he saw that there were as much as 300 million in the ring, he stopped saying anything, but said lightly, "Come with me." 2 people, as the guard went forward. After walking 10,000 people, the guard gave up to 100 million long-lived coins and cut in there. Then he continued with Yaming, and after another 20,000 people, he had to let Yaming cut in here. Yaming now understands that every time a person's team is inserted, he will need to pay 10,000 long-lived coins. He glanced forward, and performed the technique of local vision, and found that there were at least 150,000 people ahead. He said nothing, and took out a ring of 2 billion long-lived coins and gave it to the Protoss guard. The Protoss guarded for a moment, saying that this human being was generous enough, and his attitude changed dramatically. He said, "You have been this way before, and you have saved yourself trouble. Go, I will take you to the front row." 2 billion, let Yaming row to the front, it was more than enough. This time, Yaming was ranked directly to the front. In the empty place, a black door was placed, and monks of all ethnic groups were rushing in, not slow or unpleasant. Yaming was placed directly at the front. After the people at the door checked his way, he charged a toll fee of 100 million long-lived coins before putting him in. During the introduction, Yaming Dun felt that the space was spinning and turned upside down. It took half a quarter of an hour before he entered a chaotic space-time. The strong force of space tearing made him feel pain. He was taken aback and quickly released the city of war and hid in. A huge city rises into the air, but it is the size of a slap. The city of war was much better. Yaming took out the compass, and saw that the pointer on the compass kept swinging, and finally pointed to a position in front of the left. He immediately urged the Sword of Time and Space and took the war with him. The Sword of Time and Space is sensitive to the perception of time and space changes, and easily travels through space. A few breaths flew over a distance of tens of billions of miles, shuttled through countless folded and staggered spaces. Soon after, Yaming felt that the pointer on the compass started to rotate in place, and he understood the boundary of the Earth. So he jumped out of the city of war and floated in the air to observe. I saw a mountainous area with beautiful mountains and clear waters below. The space is extremely stable and the aura is extremely rich. Here it is. He was overjoyed, and immediately released 100 million heavenly workers, as well as 250,000 long-lived 8-border and 9-border puppets, all deeply underground and mining Fahing. The first step in mining is to find out the vein conditions. This matter happened to the Sword of Time and Space to do it, and it disappeared when I saw it. After about half an hour, the Sword of Time and Space returned to the ground and said, "Master, it has been clearly investigated. There are indeed 49 veins underground, which are generated by a branch of a large Yandao vein." Yaming nodded, the tadpoles are dispatched by you to choose the 42 ores that contain the most crystals. The mining speed should be fast." The Sword of Time and Space nodded, and immediately began commanding the people to mine. This is physical work. Fortunately, Ye Ming's natural strength is not weak, which is equivalent to the French 9 realms. Mining is more than enough for them, and the speed is faster than everyone. 42 veins were carried out almost simultaneously, and each vein was responsible for 2.4 million tadpoles. The remaining crickets patrolled nearby to ensure the smooth operation of the mine. Ye Ming was staying in a small space in the City of War, teaching 4 new disciples skills and martial arts, and occasionally came to see the progress. With so many shots, the mining progress is progressing rapidly. But in a long time, 1/10 of the 42 veins have been mined. Ye Ming is very satisfied with this, thinking that when he returns, he must buy more Tiangong. Tiangong Ye is widely used and is an indispensable artifact for home travel. And next time, he will buy the Heavenly Grate of Longevity. In comparison, it is far more powerful than the heavenly craftsmanship of the French heaven. Of course, the price of natural labor in longevity is also very high, which is several times higher than that of war in the same level. On the first day, we mined 1/5 of the veins. Ye Ming roughly counted about 120 million yuan. From this calculation, the number of French crystals contained in all 42 veins is about 600 million pieces. According to the price of 20 million eternal coins per piece of crystals, the price of these crystals is more than 1.2 trillions of eternal coins. After opening with his brother Wu Wu, he can also make 6 trillion. So much money, can you almost buy the entire Xiandao continent? He couldn't help thinking. By the 4th day, the veins were almost mined. Ye Ming asked the Sword of Time and Space, "Xiao Kong, did you find the pulse when you searched before?" "Sword of Time and Space, Master, I don't go to the innate road charm without cause and effect." "Don't you stick to cause and effect?" Ye Ming scratched his head. "In this world, talented things have no cause and effect. Everything has cause and effect, so the innate road sign cannot be captured by anyone, not even the eternal God." "The Sword of Time and Space, Master, still don't think about it." Ye Ming said, "Yes, there is nothing in this world without cause and effect." Having said that, he suddenly jumped to his heart and asked, "Is there a cause and effect for the God of Thunder?" The Sword of Time and Space is stunned. "Cause and effect, there is cause and effect. There is a causal effect of chaos that existed at the beginning of chaos, and there was no cause and effect involved in the world before the heavens and earth opened up. Isn't it causal?" Ye Ming's eyes lighted up, and he looked inside the immeasurable Shenhai, just as the vortex reappeared, and the endless creation thunder and creation lightning fell endlessly, hitting the stone tire. He yelled, forcibly leading out the God of Fortune. The next moment, he was covered with the God of Thunder. Thanks to his many baptisms, otherwise, how can he withstand the refining of the God Thunder? Even so, he was still full of pain and pain. "The Sword of Time and Space, lead the way." Ye Ming scolded. The Sword of Time and Space did not dare to neglect, and immediately broke through the space and threw Ye Ming into the place where De Yan's veins were located. As soon as Ye Ming entered, he entered a strange avenue of time and space. Everything around him was nothingness and darkness. And in endless nothingness and darkness, 3 things radiate light. One of these 3 things is a lotus flower, with no roots and no leaves, carved like white jade. The second is a sword-shaped object that is 3 feet 3 long and 3 inches wide. There is no scabbard, only the sword body. The third thing is a rune. The black rune is full of nether air. Ye Ming's eyes swept away and ran to the lotus flower. He urged his mind to transform God Thunder into a thunderbolt, and gently caught the lotus flower. His heart was pounding, for fear that the lotus would run away or die. Fortunately, everything is fine, this lotus is easily taken off. The thunderbolt turned into a thunderbolt cover, held the lotus flower tightly, and retracted the boundless sea. He then went to the sword again, and fished it with the hand of thunder and hid in the infinite sea. The third one went to the second, and the remaining black charm immediately shook slightly and seemed to be disturbed. Yaming was frightened, and immediately ran over, divided two lightning hands, and caught them. As soon as it came into contact with the thunder and lightning, the black rune burst into a heavy black light, extinguishing the hand of the thunder and lightning, and then vibrated more. Broken, the god of fortune can't catch it, what should I do? Yaming was anxious, so he switched to creation lightning. A lightning chain was led by him, entangled with the rune like a snake. Amazingly, this spell does not exclude the creation lightning. Yaming was overjoyed, and immediately took it into his pocket, then turned away. As soon as his people came out, they noticed that the outer space was shaking and very unstable. He was taken aback and saw that the veins were almost dug, and immediately waved his hand, "Withdraw." They returned to the city of war. Yaming urged the sword of time and space, and left immediately. Less than a quarter of an hour after he walked, the entire space collapsed, forming a terrible black hole in time and space. Anything that enters the black hole will turn into the most basic particles, and even the eternal is not spared. Oops! Now the Zhou family can't mine the other 7 veins. It would have been a waste to know that I had mined together. Yaming secretly pity. The trip was a huge success. He didn't stay long in the chaotic continent and returned directly to the exit. However, before he came out, he gave the city of war to the sword of time and space, allowing him to plunge directly into the dust. Because he knew that every person who left the chaotic mainland had to be inspected, and there was no secret at all. He didn't want to be harvested this way and was searched by the Protoss guard, but it was a big loss. Sure enough, when he came to the exit, there was immediately an extremely powerful man, who should be 5 or even 6 steps supreme. He searched throughout his body and did not miss any storage ring. Fortunately, his things are in the sword of time and space, and the sword of time and space is hidden in the dust, and the Supreme Master cannot find it. Leaving the exit, Yaming immediately flew. Thousands of miles away, the sword of time and space jumped out and handed things back to Yaming, saying, "The Master's harvest this time is simply shocking." Yaming smiled, "Hey," and said, "I don't know how much the innate road sign is worth." The sword of time and space said positively, "Congenital Avenue rune, the value is not comparable to that of Feheng. It is 10,000 French crystal mines, and it is not as good as a congenital Avenue rune." Yaming nodded, "Unfortunately, this thing does not stick to cause and effect. How can it be used?" "Sword of time and space, don't the master know the old Huang? That old thing is so good that you can ask him for help." Yaming nodded, "This is a solution. But this matter is not urgent, let's go back first." The sword of time and space suddenly broke through the space and time and appeared on the continent of Tianyuan. Yaming released the city of war. As soon as his people returned, they felt a strong sense of resentment in their consciousness. He frowned, calling to Death, and asked, "What happened?" Little Death said lightly, "After the 5 big worlds folded inside the Tianyuan continent unfolded, the people inside did not like the current living environment." Yamingki said, "Why? In the past few years, we have not asked them and let them develop freely. Why are they still not satisfied?" Small Death, because they have realized the gap after contacting the people of the original Tianyuan continent, their ambitions have breeded in their hearts. Once the wild is born, the situation is chaotic. In recent years, they have been fighting and dying for nearly 10 years. One of the population. Yaming sighed and said, "It seems that they can't be allowed to come. They told me to obliterate all forces, and all the people came under the rule of Tien Daemin. There are those who don't follow, and there is no pardon." Under the Tianyuan continent, there are 5 big folding worlds hidden. Once the space is unfolded, the area of the Tianyuan continent has increased by a factor of 1,000, and the population has increased from tens of trillions to 10 trillion. With so many people, countless forces are flooding them. Once the forces that originally belonged to the 6 big worlds met, they would naturally start a sword and kill them together. Yaming knew that the thunderbolt means Buddha's heart. If he didn't take action to suppress it, there would be more dead people. Historically, the population has been halved because of the war, and even more tragedies have happened again and again. He does not want similar tragedies to occur in the Tianyuan continent and under his rule. The best way to deter 1 billion people is to show strength. With the order of Yeming, all the undead guards, great sword masters, and hundreds of thousands of war puppets, even Tiangong puppets, appeared one after another, filled with the sky of the Tianyuan continent, making every corner of the continent. You can feel the power of Tiandaemin. Little Death was not idle, but she controlled the heavenly will of Tianyuan continent, and the rumbling Tianwei shrouded every inch of land and suppressed every being. The sound of a small death sounded in the heart of every living being. The sound of this majesty is imposing, immeasurable and imposing. I am the heaven, and now I am ordering the Tao to act on behalf of the heavens, to educate the people. All Tianyuan people obey, and those who violate it, I abandon it, and God abandon it. All Tianyuan gangs, sects, religion, the family and all other forces will be dissolved within 3 days. The offenders will be destroyed by the thunder. All things of Tianyuan belong to Tiandaemin. Private individuals are not allowed to mine. Offenders will be put into the prison and be punished for 100 years. The sound of a small death sounded, and the 10 million people were shocked. What happened? Actually have a will? Someone just suspected that this was a demon or a crowd. Suddenly, on top of 9 days, thunder, a phantom of a mighty shore, appeared with Tianwei. This coercion made everyone's consciousness almost stagnant. The small death showed 3 holy days, and Tianwei suppressed 3 days. Since then, the 10 trillion people have no suspicion. 3 days later, all forces were dissolved, and the people kept their fields and their properties, waiting for further orders from Tiandaemin. Sure enough, it was the 4th day. Like the people who cultivated the Tianyuan mainland before, Yeming began to arrange a large number of cultivation sites, distributed a large amount of elixir, exercises, and martial arts, and began to train martial arts talents in batches. Xiao Si will piece by piece of mind, practice memory, and imprint each one's heart one by one, so that they have equal opportunities to practice. Of course, only those who are hardworking and qualified can go further and get more resources. At that time, the population of the Tianyuan mainland was only 1/1000th of the current. Yeming spent tens of billions of eternal coins to build institutions, formations, and elixir. What's more, the subsequent expenditures are up to more than 3 billion eternal coins every year. Today, the area has increased by a factor of 1,000, the population has increased by a factor of 3,000, and the cost has naturally doubled. In order to initially establish the originally regulated training system, the initial investment must be at least 30 trillion yuan. The investment in the later period also exceeds 10 trillion yuan each year. This cost is hardly under the cost of several big lists. People who belonged to 5 big folding worlds, have they ever seen such a battle? Suddenly felt like dreaming. Why is Tiandaemin so good to everyone? This doubt quickly turned into gratitude and joy, and began to believe in the immortal tree. In just a few months, the 10 trillion people have all turned into small dead believers. 3,000 times the power of the previous faith rolled in, and the power of the immortal tree has suddenly increased thousands of times. After the increase of faith, the immortal tree does not need Yeming's input much. The power of faith alone is enough to maintain its operation, which indirectly saves Yeming a lot of expenses. While educating the people, Yeming was in contact with the civilization of war. He had long had an idea in his mind, using the runes he obtained to build a group of powerful battleships. At the same time, he also wanted to release a part of Fajing in his hand. He now has huge expenses. If he doesn't sell Fajing, the money on hand will not be able to withstand it, and it will be consumed in a few years. There are too many places to spend money. If you want to provide elixir to the soul religion, you must double the size of the refining plant. And he decided to purchase a large amount of natural engineering, which is another astronomical figure. There is also a greater cost, and he is ready to cooperate with the civilization of war to build stronger and more advanced weapons. As the god of the Gan family of the war civilization, Yeming holds the supreme position, and even the lord of the Gan family must serve as his master. Providing a powerful person and a powerful civilization is the ultimate aspiration of a war civilization and will never change. Yaming sent a message through Gan Jimei, and the owners of the three worlds of the war civilization, Gan, Feng, and Zone came together. The owner of the Gan family is naturally Gan Taiyin. The name of the Feng family is Feng Kaiwu, and the name of the family is Zone Ho. The three homeowners appeared together for a reason. Prior to this, Yaming placed a huge order for them. 50,000 warriors in longevity and 9 realms, 200,000 warriors in longevity 8 realms, 100,000 warships in longevity 8 realms, 100 million law-level heavenly warriors. In addition, there are 100,000 nebulas cannon, a million nebula cannons. These orders directly brought several trillion yuan of eternal coins to war civilization. Faced with such a big potential owner, the three owners were excited and grateful. They had wanted to meet Yaming for a long time, so when they received Yaming's letter, they hurriedly rushed. In the empty hall, there were 4 chairs, a square table and a pot of tea. Other than that, there is nothing else. Gan Taiyin, Feng Kaiwu, and Zone Ho sat on one side, while Yaming sat on the other. After introducing each other, Gan Taiyin laughed and said, "God, Feng, and Zongjia discuss with me. I hope you will be our 3 common gods. I do not know what is the idea." Yaming laughed, "It is good to be God. It is natural. But before I make a decision, I want to know what the Feng family master and the clan master can give me." It is not Yaming's arrogance, nor does he despise others. He does have the capital of choice now. The implication is that if you don't have something to do, what cooperation is necessary? Feng Kaiwu and Zone Ho gave each other a glance, and Feng Kaiwu bowed his hand and said, "Yemen master, in fact, the Feng family, the Zone family, and the Gan family each have their own strengths. The Feng family is good at making maggots and traps, battleships, engraved with runes. Zongjia is good at various long-range and short-range weapons, swords, halberds, cannons, chariots, etc. If Yemen master cooperates with one family, the benefits he can get are too narrow. If he and I the 3 companies can get all-round help." Yaming smiled and said, "3, please drink tea." After the 3 had tea and lowered their cups, Yaming said, "All that is said here, if I don't agree, I don't know what to do. However, I have some thoughts in my heart, and I hope to have a good talk with the 3. 3 arched hands, "Please tell." Yaming said, "I know that the civilization of war is the best and strongest force to build weapons and warships in human civilization. I don't know how the Protoss level on warships and weapons is weaker than us. Is it weaker than us or better than us?" The 3 homeowners were a little silent. Gan Taiyin said, "God, you can't hide it. Protoss, even aliens, are far superior to us. But it's not that we are less intelligent than them, nor that we are not motivated. In fact, the reason the big difference is that we lack high-level materials, lack enough money, and lack time for development. As long as we have money, materials, and give us time to improve, war civilization will never lose to any alien or Protoss." Yaming was satisfied with this answer and nodded, "If I give you money and materials, how long will it take you to build a truly powerful warship?" The 3 of Gan Taiyin looked at each other and asked, "What does God mean by a powerful warship?" "You can be good at the battleship of the Lord God," Yaming said. "Even if you are against the Lord God, you can hit it hard without having to escape." The 3 were silent again, and for a long time, Zhang Hao said, "It's really difficult. At present, only 3 Supreme Protoss can make this kind of warship. That's because the Lord God is involved. But how can we please move the Lord God? Who? Even if you can move, it is far from reaching the current level." Yaming paused for a moment and asked, "If I can provide experience and technology, can I ask the Lord for help?" The 3 were taken aback, and said in unison, "Of course you can. But where does the technology and experience come from? And who is the main to help?" "Master." Yaming laughed, "You don't have to worry about these. I just ask, if I provide the above help, how long will it take you to make it?" The 3 of them whispered a few words and said in unison, 10 years. If everything is complete, we can build an eternal mothership within 10 years. Ye Ming was very satisfied and said, it's not too long after 10 years, he paused, and seemed to think of something again. Do you know the insignia? He asked. Feng Chi Wuxi laughed and said, naturally no. The innate avenue rune is derived from the innate avenue. It has infinite power, even the Lord God cannot capture it. Because the avenue is not attached to cause and effect, no creature or object can touch it. It is neither touchable nor natural. If it can be captured, is it possible to use the road sign? Ye Ming asked. The three homeowners were shocked, all with incredible expressions. Can innate avenue runes be captured? How is that possible? Ye Ming could read the horror from their eyes. He said, just a hypothesis, you can continue to assume. The three were calm. Gan Taiyin said, even if there is an innate road rune, it cannot be used unless you can find a non-stick cause and effect to isolate the outside world from the innate road rune. What if there is such a thing? Ye Ming's eyes lit up. He is a rune, and of course, he knows what terrible power is contained in the inborn road rune. Once it can be used and placed in the homeland of the human race, it is a nuclear bomb level, a taboo weapon. Several people obviously acted as hypotheses, and Zhong Ho laughed. If we can do that, then we can export the power of the innate avenue rune and use it to create terrible weapons. Ye Ming was interested. What kind of weapon? How powerful? The Zhong family is good at weaponry, and he laughed. It depends on how it is designed. If I were a design machine, the first solution is to make the inborn avenue rune into the front of the eternal battleship. In this way, the inscribed avenue rune, the power of the avenue, can not only be used as the motive force of the mother ship, inexhaustible and inexhaustible, it can also form an avenue array and make avenue attacks. Let's just say that if such an eternal battleship is manufactured, it can kill the main of. Ye Ming's eyelids jumped and said, what about the second option? In the second scenario, I will use the innate avenue to create a weapon, which can be a sword, a cannon, or a killing array. In either form, it can threaten the main and cause death. One hit. Zhong Haodao, guided by Ye Ming's conceived, he even remembered it. Ye Ming smiled hee and said, very good. I want you three to cooperate with me in this period of time. Can I do that? The three families were overjoyed, stood up and worshipped respectfully. Yes, Lord. Ye Ming nodded. I remember, you spend thousands of trillions of eternal coins every year to build your big world into a giant battleship. Gan Taiyin, yes God, we do this to protect ourselves. Ye Ming, it won't be necessary soon. The three were only comforting, smiled, and said nothing. Ye Ming stayed with the three homeowners for a few days and talked about many things, which gave him a deeper understanding of the civilization of war. After the three of them left, he immediately went to the legendary school to meet Lao Huang. Legendary school, Lao Huang is holding a tree branch, squatting at the door to pull ants. These ants were unlucky, and he plucked them with branches, arranged in various patterns, looking like a kind of ancient monster, magnificent. Suddenly, Lao Huang looked up and cursed, hanging children, what are you doing again? It turned out that Ye Ming was here. He handed a ring to Lao Huang, which contained 100 kinds of the best wine in the world. Lao Huang loves wine, but I don't know if it is a congenital defect. He does everything deliciously, but he doesn't make wine. But such a person is addicted to drinking. So many times, he is in pain, always drinking, but never drinking good wine. Lao Wang's eyes were widened and he cursed, dangling children. You gave Lao Tzu so much good wine. What kind of treasure do I have to count this time? Ye Ming honestly said, Lao Huang, you take the kindness of others as donkey liver and lungs, you are simply not a son. Old Huang just sneered, as if watching a play. Ye Ming grinned and set out the wines in the ring one by one, saying, 100 kinds of the best wines in the world, a total of 300 and 600 altars. I spent no less than 1 billion eternal coins on these wines. I came from the treasury of the three emperors, some from the Takingman wine kill, some from the only teaching chef, and even the treasures in the master's hall. I also discussed a few jars. Hey, Lao Huang, for these wines, I didn't even have my face, so I stole it. Although Lao Huang was still very disdainful, Yaming finally felt a little bit embarrassed. While drooling to collect the wine, he said shamelessly, Lao Tzu hasn't drunk any wine. I have tasted better wine than you. I've been through a lot, you know? Yaming nodded again and again, yes, Lao Huang, who are you? It's the world's first wine tasting, and the world's first wine storing. Well, even if it wasn't before, it is now. Who would spend so many trillions of eternal coins to buy so much wine? Except for Yaming, there is no second person in the world. Old Huang was somewhat helpful, and said, your boy understands. Yaming coughed and said, Lao Huang. I'm here to deliver wine this time. By the way, I want to ask you for help. As the saying goes, it's short to take people, but they're soft. Even though Lao Huang was shameless and mean, it was a bit difficult to refuse. He impatiently said, let there be fart, Lao Tzu has precious time. So called in his mouth, but he wanted to find a place quickly, beautifully wine tasting. Yaming said, Lao Huang, you have a lot of monuments of civilization. I want to know, can there be a complete civilization inheritance in the monument of civilization? Lao Huang shook his head, how is that possible? It's only about it. It won't be too detailed. Yaming, how can I see the monument of civilization? Lao Huang thought for a while, this is easy, I can directly dig out the inheritance inside and stuff it into your head. As for whether it can bear the information of civilization, it depends on your fortune. Yaming was overjoyed, well, please find out if there is any civilization related to war in Lao Huang, but if you have any, please dig it out and put it in my head. Lao Huang immediately shook his sleeves, a dozen civilizations monuments, they released different momentum, suspended in the air. Lao Huang Chinchinchmung Bean's eyes glanced around, and 3 monuments of civilization fell into his hands. When he grabbed the monument, 3 lights of civilization flew out, tumbling in his palm, condensing into countless runes and vanishing in the void. As soon as he waved his hands, these runes turned into rune rivers and poured into Yaming. Before Yaming was ready, he felt a pain in his head, and endless runes poured in. All these runes rushed into the infinite sea of Shen, floated on the sea surface, or condensed into various rune chains, flying like a light dragon. He opened his eyes and said, Lao Huang, thank you. Old Huang waved his hand and was about to leave. Yaming quickly called out, Lao Huang, after a while, would you please help me build an eternal battleship, can you help? Lao Huang finally glanced at Yaming. Boy, do you want to build an eternal battleship? I warn you, the day when the eternal battleship is created is when the Protoss will do something to you. Yaming grinned, if I build a warship, I will not let them know. Old Huang snorted and did not answer, but agreed that he would help in the future. After receiving the letter of approval, Yaming left the legendary school and returned to the Tianyuan continent. After turning around, he tried to understand the content of those runes, but found it very difficult and progress was slow. He couldn't help it, it seems that I want to further improve the chaos calculations, otherwise I will not be able to comprehend the marks of many civilizations. Thinking of this, he took out all the life fluid that Zhou Wujiang had bought for him. Life fluid can enhance vitality and increase potential, and wisdom is part of potential, so it can naturally increase potential. For these 2 million caddies of life, he spent 40 trillion yuan of eternal coins, just for today. In the heavenly gate, Yaming dug out a huge pool, and then poured life fluid into it. 2 million pounds of liquid immediately formed a pond, and the whole man was soaked in it. The next moment, he felt vitality, flowing into his body continuously, very comfortable. This vitality is pure and extremely easy to absorb, with no side effects. Boom! In the sea of countless gods, there were countless thunders suddenly, the situation was abrupt, and there was no wind and waves. I saw Nan Tian, Bei Tian, Shi Tian, Dong Tian, with the power of a rushing stream of life, pouring into the infinite sea of God. In a short time, the creatures in the sea of God were suddenly many times stronger and more intelligent. Of course, the biggest gain was Yaming. His wisdom, strength, physical fitness, potential, and even luck have grown wildly, reaching an incredible level in a short period of time. You know, these 2 million pounds of life fluids, but the masters of countless vigor civilizations, took many years to collect, showing how precious they are. Ye Ming bought them with 40 trillion yuan of eternity coins, and made a lot of money. If these things are put up for auction, let alone 40 trillion, it is 4 trillion. If he hadn't promised to give Zhou Wujiang the right to operate the elixir, he would never have been sold to him. Of course, Zhou Wujiang values the friendship with Ye Ming more. He is obviously a visionary person. In other words, the emperor behind him is a visionary man. The wind and thunder rolled, the lightning flashed and thundered. This process continued for 9 days, until Ye Ming felt his vitality reached a certain critical point. There seemed to be a skylight open, and his eyes suddenly opened up, and he suddenly saw a different landscape. At the beginning, Ye Ming had a strong breath of life flowing around him. Gradually, all these breaths converged without leaking the slightest. Seeming to be in a subconscious state, Ye Ming began to practice chaos calculus, and he broke through to the 4th order, and then the 5th order without hindrance. This breakthrough, just like Hercules learns to lift weights, can easily have extremely high achievements. The 5th order of chaos calculations, he opened his eyes and woke up completely. Between the flashes of thought, the massive runes on the sea and sky of infinite God are bright, and they are arranged and combined in a mysterious way, condensing into 3 magical rune books, sparkling and glamorous. Ye Ming stepped out of the palace of immeasurable shape, sitting in the void, and looking at one of the rune books. Chaos 5th order, his wisdom has strengthened more than 10 million times. A book was actually read in half an hour. Then the 2nd, the 3rd. After reading 3 books, it took only half a day. Closing the 3rd book, he murmured, "There is only a general introduction above. Going to rest and look for detailed war civilization skills." Suddenly, in his heart, he thought of a person, Dai Xiangzong. On the Forgotten Continent, there are many people who carry the tinder of civilization. Do these 3 civilizations survive? If so, it might help him make up for his detailed skills. With this in mind, he didn't want to stop for a moment and went to the Forgotten Continent. This time, without using the sword of time and space, he stepped out, ripples appeared in the void, and his people disappeared. The 5th order chaos calculus has made his martial arts circle 1st class and 9 rank. This martial arts circle will bring his understanding of martial arts to an incredible level. Ye Ming's eyes shot strange light. He could see the location of the cracks in the space and find natural space channels. So one step out, people are already walking towards the Forgotten Continent, hundreds of millions of miles away. Half a day later, he finally found the Forgotten Continent with the information left by Dai Xiangzong. This is a large world with a large area, and it is not much more than the current Tianyuan continent. As soon as his people came, they contacted Dai Xiangzong. He was lucky, Dai Xiangzong happened to be in the Forgotten Mainland, and the two met soon. Forget the largest city on the mainland, named Phoenix. At this moment, Ye Ming was in Phoenix's largest restaurant, and he was waiting for Dai Xiangzong. A quarter of an hour later, a loud laugh came, and Dai Xiangzong rushed to the scene, saying, "Brother Ye, you are here." Ye Ming quickly got up and arched his hand and said, "Brother Dai, I have something to ask for." Dai Xiangzong laughed and said, "Oh? What's wrong with Brother Ye? As long as I say, I will help you all." Ye Ming did not explain the cause, but said, "Brother Dai must have some knowledge of the civilizations that have forgotten the mainland." Dai Xiangzong laughed, "That's natural, otherwise I am a messenger." Ye Ming, Brother Dai, on this forgotten continent, can there be the civilization of earthquakes, mysterious civilizations, and tinder civilizations? Dai Xiangzong smiled even more, and said, "For the 3 civilizations you said, we have forgotten 2 continents, namely the mysterious civilization and the Taiwu civilization. Moreover, these 2 families are my family. As for the civilization of Zhen, there is something to do with Tianji clan, I will inquire for you specifically." Hearing the Tianji tribe, Ye Ming thought of the elderly Tianji. The old man of Tianji has been inherited by the Tianji tribe, combined with Shinto, and cultivated into a long life. But later, the elderly Tianji disappeared with Shanglong's focus, and his life is unknown. Also missing were Clam 3. Thank you so much. However, I want to see the Taiwu and Suanji people first, can you? Ye Ming asked. Dai Xiangzong narrowed his eyes. Brother, you should always tell me, why should you find them? Ye Ming laughed. Naturally, we have to ask for something, so please come to Dai. Dai Xiangzong's ancient road was hot, so he didn't ask much, and smiled. Okay, leave it to me. So, at this time tomorrow, I will let the people from the Suanji family and the Taiwu family come here, and you will see me. Ye Ming was overjoyed and quickly arched his hand. Brother Dai, after the completion of the matter, the younger brother will be grateful. Dai Xiangzong smiled. Haha, it's not necessary to give thanks again. You might as well consider whether to stay. Ye Ming said, the younger brother must think carefully. The two broke up and Ye Ming didn't leave. He stayed in the restaurant and waited for a meeting the next day. The waiting time was always tormenting. Ye Ming simply practiced briefly. In the early morning of the second day, he went to the room early to wait. After all, he was asking for people, so he had to take the initiative to do everything. However, until noon, neither the mysterious family nor the Taiwu family appeared. Instead, Dai Xiangzong rushed to the two major families, and apologized and said, Brother Ye, the Suanji family and the Taiwu family are too much. They obviously promised to see you, but they are not showing up now. Ye Ming was not in business, he just asked, how did Brother Dai tell them? Dai Xiangzong, of course I praise you very much, saying that you are a hero of the human race, you have been in the land of creation, and have taken out the artifact of creation. You are here to seek their help. Ye Ming sighed. When they heard that I was here to help, they naturally picked up the shelf, just for a few days. Dai Xiangzong said angrily, Suanji family and Taiwich family are also too much. They actually treat guests with such outdated means, I'll find them. Ye Ming grabbed Dai Xiangzong and smiled, Brother Dai, don't worry. Dai Xiangzong was very embarrassed and said, I didn't think about it so much that I am embarrassed now. Ye Ming shifted the topic and asked, Brother Dai, do you know how the civilizations of the Taiwu and Suanji families passed down from generation to generation? Dai Xiangzong said, the tinder of civilization, the little ones, are actually some specific and faint memories. They are not in a person, but are scattered in the consciousness of the people. Moreover, this kind of civilization can be inherited from father to son. From child to grandson, it is passed on forever. Ye Ming, I don't know the mystery master and the sorceress, have you made any achievements with this kind of civilization? For example, you can build a powerful war weapon, a powerful warship. Dai Xiangzong looked scornful and said, Fart. These two are guarding base Han, but their clan is not as good as the next generation. They fight for power and profit each other. They are not united at all. How can such a family have success? They have long since fallen. Nowadays, these two signboards, Tycho and Mystery, are still worth some money. Ye Ming laughed, so Brother Dai, are these two families rich? It's impossible to talk about affluence. Most ethnic groups are at the middle and upper levels. They are inadequate and have more than enough. And in these years, the two major families have not appeared decent masters. The most powerful thing is Changsheng 2 and 3. It's already top-notch, and they all sit in the seat of the patriarch. Dai Xiangzong told the truth. Ye Ming nodded his head slightly and patted his thigh, if so, then you don't have to meet them. Brother Dai, there is something to trouble you. Please send me a notice on behalf of the Fangsuan family and Taiwu family. People, as long as they have the heritage of civilization and fire, can come to my side for sale. The price depends on the content of the heritage, the minimum 1 billion long-lived coins, there is no ceiling. Dai Xiangzong's eyes brightened and he smiled, well. This method is good. The two people are very greedy. The patriarch can't hold them. The income of more than 1 billion yuan can make them rich overnight. Dai Xiangzong was also upset with the people of the Suanji family and the Taiwu family, and immediately went to do it. This is undoubtedly a sensational announcement, so in less than half an hour, the people of the two major families have got the news, and you pass me, I pass you, all the people in the family are about to move. However, until the next day, no one came to sell the heritage of civilization. Ye Ming was in no hurry, because he knew that as long as one person came, the others would flock. Right now, the first person to eat crabs is still hesitating, but he will never hesitate for too long. Sure enough, a middle-aged man in tattered clothes finally arrived the following evening. Look at him, life is definitely not satisfactory. What's more helpless is that this person's cultivation is very weak. The Tianyuan continent, that is, the early cultivation of the samurai, is basically a piece of waste. The middle-aged man folded his hands in his sleeves, shrinking, and lingered after coming to the door. Ye Ming found him early, and exclaimed, "Friends outside, please come in." The middle-aged man gritted his teeth and pushed in. He looked at Ye Ming and stretched out his hand. "Do you really give a billion?" Ye Ming smiled and said very kindly, "On the premise that you have a civilized fire." "I do." The middle-aged man woke his neck. "Although my 3 dogs are poor, they never lie." Ye Ming nodded and threw away a storage bag in the past, which contained 1 billion long-lived coins, and then said, "Please allow me to explore your knowledge of the sea and take out the tinder." The middle-aged person took a look at the storage bag, his eyes were green, and he nodded again and said, "Okay, you can take it whatever you want." Ye Ming shook his head, reached out and grabbed him, and a mess of brilliance rose. This is a little magical power he cultivated in his early years, called drawing cocoons, which can extract the desired content from other people's memories. Sure enough, after a few breaths, he found a fluorescent-sized memory spot, looming. He was so happy that he immediately absorbed it into his spiritual world. The light spot reached the spiritual world and immediately exploded into a complete memory. It turns out that this memory is about the smelting method of several precious materials, which is very useful. He smiled slightly and said, "Your memory is very valuable, this is the capital." Then, he gave the other 5 billion long-lived coins to the other. Sanguzi almost fainted, and he fell on his knees with a slap, and repeatedly scratched his head. Thank you, uncle, uncle is such a good man, uncle has good rewards." Ye Ming had no time to talk to him and waved his hand to signal that he could go. It took half a quarter of an hour for the 3 dogs to go, and there were a group of men and women, young and old, at least dozens of people, all of a sudden came in. They all shouted, "Master, I have memories, and I also have a heritage of civilization. I am willing to sell." Ye Ming laughed, "Don't worry, everyone comes one by one. There is a lot of money, and everyone has a chance." As he said, people are no longer crowded, but line up and try one by one. The speed of extracting memories is fast. According to the value of memory, Ye Ming gives less to 1 billion and more to tens of billions. In this way, from night to day and noon the next day, the threshold of Ye Ming's restaurant was broken. Outside the restaurant, there were even long lines. For most of the day, Ye Ming's harvest was great, and many precious memories were learned by him. These memories are actually of little value to ordinary people because they do not have the ability to perceive and practice. But he is different. He has money and wisdom, and the wisdom of these predecessors can be realized. You know, these civilizations are inherited from super civilizations, and their value is inestimable. The money I spend now is only small. While he was fully acquiring the tinder of civilization, 2 middle-aged men broke in with anger and pushed away the team that grew up in a dragon. Angered, "Boy, how dare you, dare to steal our mysterious family and Taiwu family? What precious sin do you deserve?" Ye Ming was very calm. He had known that the 2 senior executives would not be able to sit still, and it really came. He smiled slightly and said, "The 2 words are heavy. I am buying, not stealing." "What are they?" One of the slightly thin middle-aged people snorted, "I am the chief of the mysterious family." Another, "I am the patriarch of the witch family." Fortunately. Ye Ming quickly got up, I want to visit 2 people recently, but 2 people are too busy to make a trip. See you today, 3 lives are lucky. They both held their hands, raised their heads, and sneered, that day I didn't see you, you used such a vicious strategy to plunder our heritage of civilization. It's abominable. Yaming looked at it. The 2 men had 1 longevity, 2 realms, and 1 longevity, 3 realms. He could kill them with 1 punch, and said, don't be angry, you can inherit my civilization. The 2 laughed, you bought billions of Changsheng coins, you want to buy the core memory of our 2 races, are you delusional? Yamingqi said, who says there are only billions of long-lived coins? He stood up and stretched out a finger. The 2 patriarchs looked at each other and asked strangely, what do you mean? Give us 10 billion. Yaming laughed, not 10 billion, but 100 million. They were so angry that they were so angry, you dare play with us. Yaming waved his hand, the 2 have misunderstood. The 100 million I said is not Changsheng coin, but eternal coin. 100 million eternal coins? Isn't that 81 trillion long-lived coins? They almost jumped up, looked at each other, and asked incredulously, really? Yaming nodded, and this is only the reserve price. If the inheritance of the 2 civilizations is really valuable, there will be funds. The 2 immediately laughed and said, this friend is indeed a brained person. In fact, the inheritance of this civilization is also a waste on us. If you need it, just take it. Yaming is also smiling with satisfaction. In this world, most of the world can be solved by money. He immediately extracted the memory of the prince of the Taiwu, and the memory of the other party was extraordinary. It was a bright blue strange light, and it was found at once. After Yaming ingested this strange light, a huge amount of memories poured in. As soon as his eyes lighted, he directly opened the other party to 500 million eternal coins. The other patriarch was so excited that he even asked himself why he didn't draw his memory. When it was his turn, Yaming found a group of purple golden brilliance, which was larger than the previous group. After Yaming ingested, his memory appeared several times. He couldn't help but ha-ha laughed and gave each other 800 million eternal coins. Some patriarchs set an example, and the 2 in the family were completely free of thought burdens, and came to sell inheritance. Half a month later, Yaming's 5th-order chaos calculations had reorganized the 2 super-civilizations, the Taiwu civilization and the mysterious civilization, and combined the 2 civilizations. He determined that he had inherited 2 nearly complete civilizations. At least, what he wants has been found. Even if it's missing, it's not critical and you don't have to worry about it. A few days ago, Dai Xiangzong inquired about the news. That day the machine family was separated from the Zhen family. The Zhen clan originated from the civilization of the earthquake. It died tens of thousands of years ago, but the Tianji clan developed. In comparison, the scale and strength of the Tianji clan are far above the Taiwu and Suanji clan. Moreover, the patriarch of this day's clan is very clever. After learning about Yaming's means of purchasing civilization, the patriarch personally came forward to interview Yaming. The place to meet is still the restaurant. The patriarch of heaven is a strong man with 8 long lives. He looks middle-aged and has a calm temperament. The other person's name was Leun, and he opened the door to see the mountain authentically. Brother Ye, you have been a long time. I already know your purpose here, but the heritage of civilization is the root of my tribe, and it is not easy to sell. Yaming understood that the other party wanted to raise the price, and he smiled, just ask for a price. If it is appropriate, we will sit down and continue the discussion. It is not appropriate, I will leave immediately without delay. This source of music already has a draft, saying, Taiwu civilization and mysterious civilization cannot be compared with our earthquake civilization. Earthquake civilization is one of the most powerful super civilizations of all human races. And, our heritage of civilization is very complete. Yaming, so, how much does the chief Li want? Leun extended 5 fingers. Yaming's eyes turned around, 500 million eternity coins. Leun sneered, 500 million is a fraction, I mean 50 billion. 50 billion is already an astronomical figure. It must be known that before the civilization of War did not cooperate with Yeming, the Gan family made more than 100 billion yuan each year, and most of them had to invest in giant ships, which would leave 10 billion yuan. This 50 billion yuan is comparable to the harvest of the Gan family for several years. Yeming frowned. It's a little over 50 billion, can't we let it go? Li Yuan shook his head decisively, do not let it go. As soon as Yeming snap, he slaps a storage ring on the table, inside is 50 billion eternal coins. Li Yuan stayed, in his expectation, the two sides would fight each other. You and I bargained, it is impossible to reach a consensus without pulling for 10.5 months. He never imagined that Yeming was so refreshing, he just took the money out. He checked the storage ring, 50 billion eternal coins, a lot of points. Suddenly he regretted it. He regretted that the money was too small. Can he ask for 100 billion yuan at first? But it is no longer the case. 7 days later, Yeming left the Forgotten Continent. When he left, he invited Dai Xiangzong to go to Tianyuan mainland. As for the other party's proposal, he declined. The so-called Forgotten Continent, the gathering place of countless civilizations and tinders, is actually a group of poor people who do not think ahead and have no future. It's no wonder that the Protoss have no interest in this so-called Forgotten Continent. How can tigers pay attention to bugs crawling on the ground? Lei Wen did not lie, and the inheritance of the Zhen civilization is indeed the most complete. The establishment of super-civilization requires huge conditions and resources. Yet Yanming cannot, but Yeming can. Combining it with the rune book of civilization, he sorted it out. After getting the things, Yeming summoned Gan Taiyin, Feng Kaiwu, and Zhong Ho to the city of War for the second time, and officially gave them the details. The three homeowners did not know the purpose of Yeming's call for them, and thought they were just like the last time, just to think about the future. But when people arrived, they found that they were wrong, and they were very wrong. Yeming was not just thinking about it, but he was going to put it into practice soon. Yeming looked at the three homeowners and said, I have received most of the inheritance of the Earthquake Civilization, Mysterious Civilization, and Taiwu Civilization. Each of the three major civilizations has its own emphasis. The puppet and warship manufacturing of the Taiwu Civilization is the first in history. The civilization of the Earthquake has reached the forefront of humankind on the road of runes. The three homeowners stood up excitedly. God, is this true? Yeming nodded, of course it is true. So I want you three to cooperate fully to bring out the best talents in all three directions and all the relevant resources to form 3 cases. These 3 cases are Zhenzong, Taiwu Zong and Xianji Zong. They will be under my direct command and assisted by you. How could the 3 homeowners disagree, and said in unison, yes. The 3 civilizations are vast and profound. I only know them roughly, and you can't master them thoroughly. Next, I have stripped out the detailed and practical parts from the 3 civilizations, and then gave them to 3 cases for research and experimentation, in order to do as soon as possible. Get what we want? Feng Kaiwu couldn't help but ask, God, I don't know what was made in the earlier period. Yeming laughed, 3 cases. Zhenzong is responsible for the construction of a large array of warships. Taiwu Zong is responsible for the design and manufacture of the Supreme Class puppet and the main body of the warship. Suanji Zong is responsible for the development of the Eternal Cannon, the Supreme Chariot, and smelting of certain materials. Speaking of this, Gan Taiyin said, God has mentioned the Innate Avenue amulet before, I don't know if it can be achieved. Yeming said, this battleship of Zhenzong, the main battleship of Taiwu Zong, and the eternal artillery of Suanji Zong are all matched for the Avenger rune. I do not say more, you have what you have in mind. The 3 were shocked and excited, gritting their teeth. God rest assured that it will succeed and never fail. In the following month, Yeming successively imparted relevant information and technology to War civilization. The 3 major families also established 3 sects with the fastest speed, namely Zhenzong, Taiwu Zong, and Xianji sect. Immediately after the completion of the 3 cases, talents were organized, a research institute was set up, and materials were rushed to purchase, and everything was in full swing. Of course, all of this is inseparable from money. Fortunately, Yaming has a large number of French crystals and more than enough runes. In order to support the running of the three sects, he handed over the 3 trillion yuan of eternal coins and all 611 pieces of rune gold to the three sects. In addition to giving huge support, Yaming also put forward a request, hoping that the three cases could create a long-life natural craftsmanship. His vision is to build 100,000 Changsheng 9 realms, 10 million Changsheng 6 realms, 100 million Changsheng 3 realms, and 1 billion Changsheng 1 realms. With a total value of 50 trillion eternal coins, the manufacturing cost is also close to 20 trillion. The same is the Changsheng Jijing Yuan, and the price of the split-body turtle is 64 trillion yuan, while Tiangong Yuan is as high as 130 trillion yuan. However, Yaming's order was too large, and the war civilization had to expand the production line so that it could be delivered in advance. The three cases started at full speed, and Yaming was not idle. He was studying how to use the Inborn Road rune to control it. Originally he had no idea and wanted to ask Lao Huang for help. However, after receiving the inheritance of the three super civilizations, he got a lot of useful information. Historically, the three civilizations have built battleships with innate avenue runes, and they have been very successful. With previous experience, he is more confident in doing it. In fact, what he wants is to condense the god of creation thunder and the lightning into a stable container, and then place it in the large array of battleships. This is undoubtedly quite difficult, because the goddess of creation and the lightning of creation are unstable, and it is almost impossible to fully control them. Even if he looks at the information about the three super civilizations, it is still incomprehensible. Because his predecessor's method of isolating cause and effect is different from his, he did not use thunder and lightning, but another thing that has long since disappeared, without a starting membrane. If you want to control the god of creation and the lightning of creation, unless the artifact in this spirit stone is born, I can't do it. Yaming thought in his mind. He is a clever person. If he can't do it for the time being, he will set aside for a while and try again when the time is right. After all, the three cases have just begun and have not made much progress. Even if he successfully controlled the thunder and lightning, he could only be left idle, and could not immediately use it. However, he still couldn't sit still. The refining plant needed to expand, and Tian Yuan had a lot of things. Although the disciples can come out and do things, but he is not the one who can do it completely. Unconsciously, it has been 6 months since he left the chaotic continent, and all aspects are on the right track. He began to try to break through the mysterious door and ask for eternal life. Half a year ago, he took 2 million pounds of vitality fluid, and his vitality, wisdom, and potential were greatly improved. This promotion has greatly helped his current impact. What is Xian Gate? It's like a whole trick that needs to be broken. To break through the door of Xian, strength and wisdom are needed. On wisdom, Yaming's chaos calculation has reached the 5th level, and the Tiangzinzu has reached the 25th level. The martial arts law team also reached the 1st class and 9 rank. Starting from the 25th stage, Tiangzinzu can already bear the only unified heavenly will. What is Datong Tianyi? Each great world has its own providence, but between different wills, there is no way to restrain and do not lead each other, and the only unified providence is equivalent to the original providence of the ancestral continent. To understand this providence, you can order the 3 realms, providence of all the big worlds. Regarding strength, Yaming took the element of life and refined a divine power in the Master's vast heart, and cultivated eternal power. With this practice, his power can be said that there was no ancient man before, and no one came after. Strength and wisdom make us invincible. So immortal God over the sea, Yaming's watch stepped out, the martial arts matrix in the body vibrated, calculated the best angle, the best frequency, and then shot. The immense amount of Shenhai behind him also roared, and the sea water rose into the sky, condensing into a huge, billion-meter high of light giant. The man also fisted and hit the Xian Gate. At this moment, in the shape of Yaming's gods, countless ruins of civilization have disappeared, and there is a hidden mystery. Boom! The sky was shaking, the ground was shaking, and the seemingly indestructible Xian gate was instantly turned into powder. Immediately, Yaming was happy, saying, "One punch broke the door of Xian, and I knew that I could not help it." In a short time, his spirit gathered into a violent current, poured into an inexplicable space-time, and came to a level. This level is very majestic, made up of 9 megaliths, blocking the way of airflow. Yaming gained the practice experience of the ancestors and knew that the long habitat had a total of 981 levels. In Shinto, every 9 levels is divided into a large realm, a total of 9 realms, that is, a state of Changsheng to a state of Changsheng. The current that Yaming's spirit gathers is hitting the first level. The position of the level is the second dimension of Yaming's spirit and body. In this dimension, only I can feel and practice, outsiders cannot touch. In the second dimension, there are many mysteries, strengths, and even mysteries and magical powers of the human body, and all these are collectively referred to as divine possessions. How many gods are hidden in a person is related to the inheritance of ancestors, as well as personal encounters. Different constitutions, different traditions, and different encounters can create different gods. The first stage of longevity is named Xiao Aogwen. After breaking through this barrier, not only the lifespan greatly increased, but also obtained the means of escape, that is, the perception of space, far exceeded that of the past, and thus obtained the extraordinary means of breaking through the 3 realms and the heavens. Click. 9 boulders were crushed. Yaming sees. There is a bright yellow space in front of which is suspended by 6 runes, 3 big and 3 small. 3 of them were flying towards him at the same time. He just felt that his heart was clear, and the martial arts circle had 6 more changes. These 6 changes are 3 supernatural powers and 3 mysterious techniques. The 3 great magical powers are Big Folding Technique, Big Cutting Technique and Big Compression Technique. The 3 magical powers are all related to space. Large folding can fold space, large cutting can cut space, and large compression can compress space. As for the 3 mysteries, they are transposition and transposition. These 3 mysteries are also related to space. Shapeshifting allows the enemy to swap positions with himself instantly to achieve unexpected results. Within a short distance of the world, you can set up an insurmountable curved space between the enemy and yourself, so that the other party is clearly close, but how feeling inaccessible, such as shadow follows. By seeing the other person's space trajectory, the same displacement action is made at the same time, so that the enemy can follow the shadow, like the bone of a bone. How can not be thrown away? The 6 methods are all related to space. This is the reason for the first pass, called Xiao Ao Pass. However, Yaming didn't have much joy, because he has not sorted out the dual realm of martial arts so far. So as soon as his people broke through, they entered a deep settlement. The first martial arts ranks 9, the celestial heartbeat rises into the sky, feels the celestial will, and tries to call. You know, the master's vast natural heart at the time was just the 28th heavy heavenly heartbeat. Yaming's Tianxing Kaiyu has now reached 25 weights, which is only 3 times worse than Master Fu's. Of course, this triplet is extremely difficult to break through. If Yaming wants to reach the 28th level, it must be achieved after the longevity and 9 realms. In fact, the 28 heavy heavenly hearts are also refined by the Master as the Supreme Master. Soon, Yaming felt the inexorable meaning of Datong, which is everywhere. Tianxinzu absorbed Datong's providence, and then introduced the only avenue contained in it into the martial arts circle. With the guidance of the only avenue, Yaming's martial arts duo is a bit more mysterious and extraordinary. Longevity lies in the word longevity, and there are 2 keys to longevity. One is to open up the divine possession in the second dimension to enhance strength and increase potential. The second is to have its own imprint of life and imprint it on the second dimension in. The reason why Changsheng power is difficult to be killed is because of the second dimension of the individual, and it is extremely difficult for outsiders to enter. Without access, you cannot erase the seal of life, and you cannot kill it completely. The power of the eternal life, even if the body is destroyed and the spirit is dissipated, if the time is ripe, it will awaken at some point. The second dimension will find the physical body that meets the entrustment conditions, and then be born again. Of course, this rebirth will fuse the host's memory and personality, and it is not a complete rebirth. What's more, the process of imprinting awakening is very long. It may take hundreds of years, thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years before it can happen. At that time, even if you are born again, it is a matter of right and wrong, and it is no longer the era of that year. Because of this, the power of eternal life can be destroyed, and the spirit can be regarded as a slaughter. However, the higher the realm of longevity, the more extraordinary the means of rebirth, and the shorter the time of rebirth. People like Changsheng Nine Realms, once killed, will rise again in just a few decades, and even become blue, and their strength will surpass that year. After breaking the first pass, Yeming found the dimension of God's possession, but this is not the end, he must solve the problem of the seal of life. To him, it is not difficult for people, and it will not take years or even decades to comprehend the mark, as other people who are just beginning their lives. In his early years, he practiced the Yuan Shui Shen Gong and reached the blood stage of the origin. The blood of the origin contains all his memories, experiences, perceptions, etc. and can be reborn. At this moment, Yeming, while enlightening the only way to promote martial arts circle, is practicing the highest priority of the Supreme Master, the fifth most important, and his life is branded. The fifth most important thing for Supreme Master is to practice the branding method of life. It can be said that it is very helpful to the second martial arts. At this time, although he had a good idea, he also wanted to learn from this supreme merit. There are 9 merits of the Supreme, and the fifth is the imprint of life. This life branding is divided into 5 steps. Yeming has heard from the book that there are 5 realms of life imprinted, which are the inheritance of blood and blood, the robbing of spirit, the imprint of dimension, the reengraving of life, and immortality. The bone and blood inheritance is actually the offspring of the opposite sex. Offspring can inherit some of the characteristics of their parents, including part of the imprint of life. Therefore, marrying a wife and having a child is also regarded as a means of imprinting life, but it is only the lowest level and cannot guarantee the inheritance of memory and experience. Followed by the spirit of losing, the risk of looting is great, and the side effects are also great. At that time, Ji Tianpeng, who was the of the heavens, had practiced the skills of flower transfer and wood grafting, and wanted to take the body of Shi Yeming. The result was failure and death. Instead, Yeming took advantage and gradually grew to today. In fact, even if Ji Tianpeng succeeded in winning the house that year, Yeming's memory would be swallowed up. Moreover, this move has a great side effect. After winning the house, it will suffer a backbite every few years, and the backbite will become more and more fierce. Therefore, those who successfully seize the house will reduce the damage of backbite through the second house seizure. As everyone knows, each time they make a fortune, their sense of identity will weaken by 3 points. Generally, people who seize more than 3 times in a row are no longer the original self, but a mixture of 3 thoughts and memories. It can be seen that this spiritual loss is also the next step. On top of that, it is the means by which most immortals can imprint life, the imprint of dimension. The so-called dimensional imprint is the imprint of life in the second dimension. Of course, this method is safer than spiritual resignation, but it is not a perfect rebirth. The process of rebirth is long, and some memory is lost. Overall, Yeming felt that this method was not reliable, so he gave up decisively. The higher level is called life re-engraving. This method is the perfect reproduction of life, including memory, body, experience, qualifications, and even emotions, which are exactly the same as the original. Of course, life reproduction is quite difficult, and it requires a lot of precious geniuses to build the life palace and cultivate life reproduction in the life palace. Life reenactment is of course difficult, but the benefits it brings are also huge. First of all, the power of these life reenactments is the same as that of Yeming's deity. At critical moments, they can jump out and merge with Yeming, making the power soar. The main thing is that the number of life replicas is unlimited. As long as Yeming has enough money and sufficient wisdom and determination, he can continue to build the palace of life, and continue to cultivate and reproduce life. Above that, it is the most advanced immortality. Either life is re-engraved or dimension imprints are just a backup of life, not immortality on the body. And this immortality is purely immortality of the body, immortality of the body, immortality of soul, and long-term vision. Of course, this immortality requires the cooperation of the realm. At present, only the eternal realm can try. Although the eternal is eternal, it is only eternal in the time dimension. Once heaven and earth fall into chaos, time has no meaning, and the eternal is perished. Being immortal is different. It has nothing to do with time, it has nothing to do with space. Let it go, I am still, and smile to see Hongmeng change. At this time, Yeming naturally did not consider immortality, so he had to settle for the second and choose to relieve his life. However, the means of reviving life only exists in the legend. Even Han Juyan and other figures are unknown, and there is no way to cultivate. Fortunately, this fifth life mark, which is too high for supreme merit, is related to that life re-engraving. The fifth mark of life goes in 5 steps: material preparation, construction, medicine feeding, face wall and exit. The first step in life restoration is to prepare materials, which is to burn money. In the second dimension, the materials for building the palace and the magic circle, and the magic liquid for the third step of feeding medicine, etc., are being prepared in advance. Yeming wrote the required materials in virgins. As a result, he wrote thousands of notes, and each note contained hundreds of materials. Of course, the price of these materials is also very expensive, so expensive that even Yeming, who is rich in wealth, is extremely painful. He estimated that if all goes well, it will take 9 years to cultivate a life reenactment, and it will take about 3 trillion yuan of eternal money. A sheep is released, and a group of sheep is also released. Why don't I create a few more life re-engravings? He thought. Thinking of this, he was taken aback by himself. Right now, it's time to use money. The side of the war civilization burns money every day, and Tiandaemun trains his disciples also burns money. He is really afraid of running out of money, then he will be blind. It seems to discuss it with brother Xian and lend his 600 billion yuan to me. Anyway, he can't use it now. When he uses it, I will give it to him no later. He thought attentively. Just do it. He distributed the purchase list and ordered people to search everywhere. The immortal Taoist continent, the Confucian Taoist continent, the Buddhist Taoist continent, the war civilization, and so on. Wherever members of the Tiandaemun are present, they are frantically searching for what he needs. Looking outside for materials frantically, Yeming's martial arts duo finally got his eyebrows and his thoughts gradually became clear. Few months, one day, Yeming suddenly walked out of the door, his face had an unbelievable joy. With a powerful martial arts rank of 1st and 9th grade, with 25 heavy heavenly hearts beads, coupled with the ancestors' practice experience and the extraordinary inheritance of the 3 emperors, he finally made a breakthrough and formally created his Valkyrie. Double. The bell of Tiandaemun rang. This is the bell of Yeming's summoning his disciples. So Tang Yuansheng and other 9 disciples arrived. As for Gan Yuanjian and Ye Yuanhuang, they have gone to Chengshen Road since they have not returned, so there are only 9 disciples. Tang Yuansheng laughed. Did Master break through? Yeming nodded slightly, creating the martial arts duality for the division, dividing the 9 realms into 10 realms for each realm. Next, he said to the disciples one by one. His dual martial arts not only includes the level of the 9 realms of longevity, but also includes the 9 small steps of the supreme life, which is called the stage of Xinyu. Xinyu divides the 9 realms as a whole. Yeming gave a speech one by one. The disciples were so happy to hear that they were overjoyed. They only felt that the road was wide and bright, and they found their direction at a glance. In fact, in the past few months, Yeming still only practiced the first level of Xinyu Yujing, and obtained 3 supernatural powers and 3 secret techniques. He is not in a hurry to proceed, because every realm, he must be carefully crafted, and strive for perfection. After proclaiming the law, the disciples dispersed, and Yaming went to the warehouse to check. It turned out that during the months when he was in retreat, Tiandamen used countless forces and personnel, and finally bought all the materials he needed. As he expected, it took a total of 3,106 trillion eternal coins. Excluding Sun Zongxuan's 6 trillion yuan, and deducting the 3 trillion yuan he left for war civilization, he has no money left, and the rest is only pocket money. All materials are available in the warehouse of the City of War. Yaming was very satisfied and was preparing to build the Palace of Life, but the news came from the Emperor. The Emperor died. The 3 Emperors' world will hold a grand burial ceremony. As the Crown Prince, he must go to participate. Yaming was a bit surprised. In his vision, the Emperor would have to live a few more years, and he did not expect to die so soon. He had no choice but to return. After all, the matter is so big that he must be close to the Crown Prince. And it is expected that countless things will follow in the future, and he has to go for a long time as soon as possible. Yaming rushed back to the 3 Emperors' world and arrived at the People's Palace. The Emperor Monk and Dragon are all there, even the Emperor came. In addition, the close friends of the Emperor's people, who were close to him, also arrived, almost crowding the entire Emperor's palace. He immediately felt that the funeral ceremony for tomorrow was not easy. The Emperor saw Yaming and nodded, and said, "Prince, go to see the Emperor with you." Yaming nodded, yes. As soon as the Emperor waved his hand, the space moved, and the two went directly to the gate of the royal palace. Someone had been there for a long time, saw the two, and hurriedly greeted. Yaming didn't come back to the palace for the first time. The last time the Emperor banqueted the princess, he came. "I come back this time, but I feel that the gas field of the royal palace is much stronger. Every few steps, I can see a strong guard standing there, patrolling around like a knife." In the Emperor's hall, with the exception of a few followers, only the Emperor and Prince Zhou Wujiang were present. The Emperor arched his hand as a gift. The Emperor stood up. "You are here, please sit down." Yaming also stepped forward to see, sat on the side of the Emperor, and nodded slightly to Zhou Wujiang. When the Emperor came here, it was natural to discuss major issues. The Emperor is dead, what to do with the funeral, who will take over the Emperor, and how to deal with Si Kongzun, etc. Must be clear and agreed. The Emperor died, I am sad. However, a family cannot be without a master for a day, and a country cannot be without a king for a day. We should discuss countermeasures. Ren Huangdao. Emperor, what do you mean by Emperor? Of course it is according to the ancestral system. The Emperor died, and the Emperor took over. The Emperor sighed, "I'm just afraid I'm too sloppy to learn. The Emperor Xiu is not under the Emperor, but on the back of the big tree of the Shi family, it is entirely acceptable." The Emperor was relieved and said, "Since this is the case, I will try my best." As soon as the Emperor died, the Emperor's position belonged to the Emperor, and there was no room for negotiation. Of course, there are exceptions. For example, if the Emperor is unwilling to do it, then the Emperor should be in charge. Due to the great authority of the Emperor and the Emperor, the court officials could not participate in it, and could only wait for the outcome of the second Emperor's deliberations. Emperor, I have one more thing to explain to the Emperor. After I take over the Emperor, I want to make the Emperor succeed. The Emperor glanced at Yaming and said, Prince has already entered the eternal life and is qualified to succeed. I have no opinion." The Emperor nodded, "Then we will call the ministers, princes, deities, religions, and deities everywhere to announce our decision." The Emperor nodded and said good. After an hour, officials, princes, land and mountain gods, chiefs of ancestors, family heads, etc., who were qualified to attend the meeting, rushed to the palace of the 3 emperors. Even the old-time guests and followers of Si Kongzun and the emperor arrived. Because there are too many people, the assembly has to prepare an hour. At this time, Yeming, the prince of the people, stayed in the people's palace with the emperor, and did not play until the end. At this time, the emperor looked a little worried. Yeming busy asked, "What is your righteous father?" "Emperor, Ming'er, the death of the emperor is strange." Yeming was startled. Why did the right father say this? "Emperor, last month, I also met the emperor. I think he looks like he should have 3 or 5 years of life. And the emperor's cultivation is very high, and he can predict the moment of death. However, his death was very hasty. There is almost no arrangement. This is the place where the father is most suspicious." Yeming frowned. The righteous father said that the emperor was killed. "It's possible." Ren Huangdao said, "How can my father not understand, who can harm him and who dares to harm him? The emperor died early, and what benefits can they get?" Yeming thought for a while and said, "No matter who shots, their purpose should soon be revealed. In my opinion, when the decision is announced later, someone will come out against it. They have no right to oppose it." The emperor snorted coldly. The emperor's authority can only fall into the hands of the emperor or father, and the rest are ineligible. "Is there no other possibility?" Yeming asked. The emperor froze for a long time and said, "Unless the will of the 3 emperors is involved." "Yeming, isn't the providence of the 3 emperors' world already refined for the first 3 emperors?" "Although it has been refined, but after the 3 emperors left, God's will was liberated and became an independent individual. Speaking of them, the 3 emperors' providence has not asked much about the following things in recent years, but only cooperated with the 3 emperors' order." The emperor said, "In theory, the providence of the 3 emperors is not under the authority of the 3 emperors, and it is indeed capable of controlling the outcome." "Yufu thinks this possibility exists?" Yeming asked. The emperor shook his head. "The chance is very small. That day, he always kept his mind high, and his consciousness was pure and simple. Why did he get involved in the lower world? Is there anything else that might affect the situation?" Yeming asked, still uneasy. The emperor shook his head again. "How can there be so many possibilities? Unless the first 3 emperors appeared, there would be no other possible impact." Hearing this, Yeming seemed to think of something. The emperor ascended to the emperor to the emperor. In this way, the position of the emperor is vacated. Is their purpose the position of the emperor? The emperor's eyes flashed. The position of the emperor is directed by the emperor of the previous generation, and outsiders have no right to interfere. It is one thing, considering the ability and prestige of the emperor. When the new emperor takes office, he is subject to assessment. Yemingzin said, and he asked quickly, "Father, who will make this assessment?" "What kind of assessment?" "The emperor. The assessment of the new emperor is discussed by the courtiers. Generally speaking, it is not really strict. For example, the assessment for the year of the father only challenges several contemporary strong men. Pass easily." Yeming sighed, "I'm afraid I have no luck like this newcomer." "Emperor, Ming'er, you mean, they will make a fuss about the assessment?" Yeming did not answer, but just asked, "If the assessment fails, am I not qualified to be the emperor?" The emperor nodded, "Yes. According to the ancestral system, if you do not pass, the courtiers are eligible to nominate a new candidate. However, this does not make sense, because the new candidate must also nominate me and the emperor to become the new emperor. Even if they keep you going, they will not get any benefit." At this point, the emperor's face changed, and said, "It seems to be another possibility." "Yeming, what is possible?" "The battle for the throne." The emperor squinted. "If the challenger has the same status as the new emperor, he can start the battle for the throne. Once the throne succeeds, neither I nor the emperor have the right to oppose it." "Same status as me? That could only be Si Kongzun or Zhou Wujiang." Yeming said, "Zhou Wujiang is unlikely, and there is only one Si Kongzun left." The emperor nodded, "Presumably. If Si Kongzun can become the emperor, after I and the emperor abdicate, he can become the emperor." Yeming sneered, "Si Kongzun, thinking that he is the 6 realms of longevity, can beat me, and I will surprise him. Emperor, Si Kongzun's origins are very big, you don't look down on him. The righteous father is assured that when I did not reach the Wushan duality, I was not necessarily afraid of him, not to mention that I had reached the level of the Xinyu. Ye Ming was very confident. The emperor nodded. I still wanted to abdicate. If the emperor vacated his position today, it would be free of tediousness. Ming'er, after becoming emperor, you must be kind to the people. Those of us who are cultivators are powerful and powerful. Discoloration, great magical powers. But there are many ordinary people, low strength, they need the guardian of the strong. Ye Ming, righteous father, rest assured, the Tianyuan continent under my administration, the 10 trillion people are doing well. In the future, I will be the emperor, and I will definitely treat the people of the world. You can think of it this way, it is very comforting to your father. The reason why our people can be passed down from generation to generation, and civilization is endless is because we know kindness. Do nt look down on weak people, there may be geniuses in their offspring, strong ones, those the genius and the strong are the hopes of my people. Ren Huangji taught, Ye Ming kept in mind. After an hour, the emperor and emperor arrived one after another. Above the main hall, there are 3 thrones from left to right. The emperor's seat was empty, and the emperor sat around. There were tens of thousands of people in the hall, but there was still silence. Emperor's Road, Zhu Qing has arrived and all the wise men are here. After discussing with the emperor, I announce the following decision. First, the emperor's funeral will be held tomorrow and buried in the 3 emperors' hall to enjoy the incense of future generations. The position of the emperor will be taken over by the emperor. The third, the position of the emperor will be taken over by the emperor, and the fourth, the position of the emperor will be replaced by the emperor Shang Long. After the emperor announced, he looked at the emperor. The emperor nodded slightly, expressing no objection. Chen opposed. Suddenly, among the civil servants, Ji Sheng, the official secretary, stood up. The emperor's eyebrows were raised, and he obviously did not expect that this little official secretary dared to speak out. The emperor is also frowning. This season's wind did not come close to him. How could he jump out here? What is your purpose? The emperor was angry and asked, why is Ji Qing opposed? Ji Sheng pointed to Crown Prince Ye Ming and said, because this person is not really Crown Prince, but fake. There was an uproar at the scene. The Crown Prince was fake? If so, would he be disqualified? The emperor looked at the emperor in shock. The emperor's face was full of imperfections, and said lightly, a nonsense, can the Crown Prince be fake? What evidence do you have to prove that Long's is fake? One of the crowd walked out, but the second son of the emperor Shang Longfei stood out. With a sad look on his face, he arched toward the emperor. The emperor's face was a bit ugly. His son stood up at this appropriate time. Is this to rebel? Ye Ming was also shocked, knowing that his previous calculations were wrong. These people have more vicious ways to deal with him. Yunfei, what are you doing? The emperor asked, although the voice was not heavy, but anyone could hear the deep reproach. The second prince, Shang Yunfei, exclaimed, Father Emperor. My younger brother is young, and was killed in the hands of evildoers many years ago. This person is simply a fake. The sentiment was so intense that everyone's eyes fell on Ye Ming. Ye Ming's expression remained unchanged, his eyes and his nose were on his nose, and his heart was on his nose. The emperor was expressionless and said, if you have evidence, take it out. Shang Yunfei turned around and said, come, bring the witnesses. The crowd separated and came out alone. At the sight of this person, Ye Ming's eyes narrowed. This person was actually an inflexible one of 800 gods Hao Tian taught God that year. The impermanence of that year was naturally a supreme god for Ye Ming, but at the moment, the other party is just a small figure in the 7 heavens and heavens. In the beginning, it was Wu Zong who made him impersonate Dragon Xiaobai and sneak into the dragon family. Later, Wu Zhou robbed him of his money bank, and he was invited to take a shot by Feng Yan, killing the 2 major players. but letting his destiny run away. Feng Ling was also injured and damaged, a subordinate of Fa Tianjing. Since then, this inflexibility has never appeared again, and I did not expect to appear here and now. Shang Yunfei looked at Yeming with a proud look, staring at Wu Zhong and asking, "Yu Wangcan, tell the emperor your identity." Wu Zhou knelt on the ground, respectfully said, "I've seen the emperor, and the adults. The villain's name is Yu Wangcan, but it's the world of the three emperors. He is a member of the Yu family of Wuding Hao. Teaching, becoming one of the gods, the law is no rigid." Later, Haoshan God fell, the villain quit Haoshanism and returned to the three emperors' world. Shang Yunfei, the more complete, the prince asked you. Do you recognize the people in the hall?